Disney's live-action remakes of their animated classics are awful. I do not like them, so much so that I will no longer go to watch them in the cinema. That being said, the one that hurt me the most was Guy Ritchie's Aladdin. And surprise, surprise, Aladdin is my favorite Disney film. It's an absolute masterpiece, Robin Williams, just the music, the way, the story, it's phenomenal. And yes, you heard me right, Guy Ritchie directed this movie, which I think is the most bizarre thing, because aside from like a couple of little moments here and there, this is the most un-Guy Ritchie film I think I've ever seen. When you think of Guy Ritchie, he's incredibly stylistic. This is the man that made Snatch and The Man from U.N.C.L.E., the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes films, that King Arthur movie. I mean, I don't like that King Arthur movie, but I can't deny the stylistic stuff he does in that film is pretty cool. But you look at his Aladdin film, and aside from like a couple of tiny moments here and there, it is the most un-Guy Ritchie thing I've ever seen. The film is just incredibly bland and soulless, and you can really see that in the musical set pieces, and I'll get onto that a little bit later on in the review. To start off, as an adaptation of the animated film, it is basically that film, but more soulless, and it's much longer too. It's incredibly bloated. The original is a nice hour and 35 minutes. This film is about 40 minutes longer and sits at around about 2 hours 17. It's pretty much the exact same story but told in a less exciting way, and it's just incredibly bloated and long-winded and takes forever to get to the point. Now, some of the changes aren't inherently bad. I mean, after watching both films back to back, obviously I watched the live action first and ended off on a good note with the animated film. There was basically an interesting realization I had, which was that, yeah, you could expand upon the animated film because whilst I think it's a masterpiece, there's no harm in making it just a little bit longer to flesh things out just a tiny bit more. The only issue is that the live action film doesn't really expand anything and give anything any real substance. Giving Jasmine a little bit more stakes in the politics of Agrabah is completely fine. But the problem is that the way the film depicts that is that Jasmine wants to become Sultan, but she can't because she's a woman. But then also there's this weird rivalry between Shirabad and Agrabah, and Jafar wants to take over Shirabad because he doesn't like them or something, but Shirabad is the Sultan's wife's country of origin and Jasmine's mother's country of origin, and it's just, it doesn't really add anything. They just add in this fake political subplot of just like, yeah, Shirabad versus Agrabah. But this whole thing doesn't impact the story at all. Like, when Jafar becomes Sultan, he doesn't amass an army, or he doesn't use his magic to, like, decimate Shirabad or whatever. He does nothing. So it really means nothing. They're just waffling about this fake country political feud for no reason. Also, Jasmine becoming Sultan, I mean, shouldn't it technically be a Sultana, but even still, Jasmine becoming Sultan is not inherently a bad idea. The only problem is that this subplot kind of detracts away from Aladdin's internal conflict in the middle of the film, because this film just gets rid of Aladdin's struggle in the middle of the film where, when he becomes Prince Ali and he suddenly thinks that he's slowly cheating his way into becoming Sultan, they don't really address that. In this film, he kind of just like vibes about and it's just like, yeah, I'm Prince Ali, I'm cool. But they don't address the fact that he would have to become Sultan. They don't talk about that. They just go, yeah, Jasmine's gonna become Sultan by the end of the film, so we don't need to talk about it. I'm gonna leave that off. And I mean, in a lot of ways, this film actually does take away a little bit of Aladdin's character in certain senses, especially his intelligence, because in the final climactic battle between Aladdin and Jafar, it's not Aladdin that comes up with the idea to make Jafar turn himself into a genie so he gets trapped into a lamp. It's Genie's idea. So, I don't understand why they changed that. They made Aladdin look worse. Now, I'm gonna be nice now and talk about the things I liked about in this film. Naomi Scott is incredible as Jasmine. I love her. I mean, not only is she stunningly beautiful, not only does she have the voice of Jasmine, but she really carries this really regal and elegant presence as Jasmine while still retaining the elements of the dainty princess from the animated film. Obviously, she's still got the spit and fire of the original Jasmine, but I like that they elevate her just a tiny bit more to make her feel just a little bit more regal. Honestly, she's perfect, and I love her. Though, that being said, why do they cast a half-British, half-Indian actress to play an Arabian princess? Like, huh. Also, Speechless is a good song. I like it, though I don't think it fits the rest of the music in Aladdin. It very much feels like it's a song that's made for something like Frozen and it's just injected into this film. Will Smith as the genie is very good. Obviously, he has the impossible task of following in the footsteps of the legendary, masterful Robin Williams, And for the most part, Will Smith does a good job. He makes the role his own. There are also just a couple of times where he's a bit flat, and I feel like that's mainly down to the direction or something, because it does happen a couple of times, not just with him, but also a bunch of the other cast in this film as well. But other than that, I really like the chemistry and dynamic he has with Mena Massoud as Aladdin. I mean, their dynamic is very much like the dynamic Will Smith has in Hitch, and I think that's a really cool and interesting change to like make for this adaptation and tailor it specifically to Will Smith. That being said, the CGI on the genie is very wonky. Like, yeah, it's pretty bad and pretty unnerving to look at. And speaking of Mena Massoud, I like Mena Massoud as Aladdin. I think he does a good job with the material that he's given. He brings the nice tricks to like quality, he has the charisma, he has the charm, but again, there are moments where he just feels a bit stilted and wooden, and I can't tell if that's the direction or him as an actor. You know, one of the things they do a good job of is showcasing Aladdin's climbing and parkour skills. I think the stuff when they do show it is pretty cool. I just wish there was a bit more, because like Mena Massoud can move, like he can dance, that dance number is really great, and so I would have liked them to just showcase Aladdin climbing and jumping and doing, you know, more of the crazy parkour stuff just a little bit more, because it's cool when they do it. I just wish there was a tiny bit more, especially in the finale, because in the finale he kind of just like runs around and like hides behind things, and I'm like, nah, have him like roll around and do flips and stuff. It would have been cool. Now, I do want to address the fact that he is the star of a billion-dollar film, and yet since this film he has barely been able to get any roles, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Like, what? He was in a Christmas movie with Vanessa Hudgens on Netflix, and that's kind of it? Like, that is ridiculous. Mena Massoud turns in a decent performance in this film, and yet he hasn't been able to get any roles. But I've seen films where there are actors that have delivered worse performances than Mena Massoud, who constantly keep booking jobs and getting more roles. Like, I think that is just incredibly unfair. There are also a couple of moments of humor that I really do enjoy. I like the moment where Genie is talking to Aladdin and explaining him to the rules about being a genie, and then, you know, Aladdin tells him to make him a prince, and then Genie literally makes him a prince. Y'all see my palace? It's funny. That's good stuff. And speaking of good stuff, the deleted scenes are actually quite good, and I'm kind of annoyed that they cut some of them. There's an extended version of the scene where Genie is explaining the rules to Aladdin, and he tells him about his former masters and how their wishes ended up screwing them over. And it's a really fun scene, and I wish they kept it in. But the one I think they should have kept in the most was the scene just after the jam scene. Because the jam scene is funny, but the deleted scene afterwards is hilarious, because it's Genie and Aladdin in a room, and Genie just scolds Aladdin about that whole situation. It's so funny, and I wish they kept it in. I have no idea why they cut it. It was genuinely funny. Now, getting on to some nitpicks and minor criticisms. First off, Aladdin's costume. Look, why did they change it? Like, the Aladdin outfit in the animated film is iconic. And I'm pretty sure Mena Massoud would have been more than happy to have worked out, got a six-pack, and been shirtless throughout most of the film because, you know, that's like Aladdin's thing. And look, even in the Disney parks, Aladdin doesn't walk around semi-shirtless all the time. They give him kind of like a Henley-type shirt underneath, which is fine, I guess, but why did they change the colours of the costume? They reversed it. His hat is now purple, and now his vest is red. Like, why did they change that? The Cave of Wonders itself looks pretty bland, and to be fair, one of the things that really annoys me about this film is that they keep touching the treasure, because in the animated film, they designed the Cave of Wonders specifically to where there was an entire room full of treasure, and then in the room where the lamp is, it's pretty much bare, apart from the golden monkey statue. And so because the live action version kind of like merges it all into like one chamber, it kind of makes it confusing as to why Abu is attracted towards the red gem specifically, because again, in the animated film, the room with the lamp is pretty much bare apart from the red gem, and that's meant to be the final trap. But in this film, they don't do that. It's just the red gem falls in front of Abu and he touches it. You might think I'm overanalyzing this, but no, I'm not. There's a reason why things were written and designed specifically in the animated film, and so changing them for the live action just to be different doesn't really make any sense unless you're trying to improve it. And the changes they make don't improve it, they just kind of add nothing to it. And because they had nothing to it, why didn't you just do it how it was done in the animated film? The live action film also makes the Sultan a much less interesting character. No longer is he the dumpy and jovial and childlike character he was in the original. He's kind of just generic, worried dad. There's not really much substance to him, and he's not really entertaining to watch. He's just there. Also, Iago is lame. They just turned him into a parrot voiced by Alan Tudyk. No longer does he have the charisma and the, you know, the characterization of Gilbert Gottfried. He's just a parrot that talks. Now getting on to the bad. Jafar sucks. No longer is he the gloriously over-the-top evil character with so much screen presence from the original. Now he's just some guy that has issues with being second to the Sultan. Second best. I kind of feel bad for Marwan Kenzari just because apparently he's an award-winning Dutch actor, but in his two big Hollywood blockbuster outings, this and Black Adam, he's just been made to look like a really bad actor. Now look, if they wanted to change Jafar from the gloriously over-the-top villain from the cartoon and instead make him a more subdued, mellow character that kind of hides in the shadows, that's more scheming, kind of like Grima Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings or Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, that would have been a fine change, but they don't really do anything interesting with him. Maybe have him creeping on Jasmine or something, because again, by the end of the film when he tries to marry Jasmine, that whole thing comes out of nowhere. Like, in no way, shape or form did they hint at Jafar has an attraction towards Jasmine. He just goes, yeah, I'm gonna marry you now, just because. Also, the film hints at a cool backstory for Jafar where he talks about how he was a thief similar to Aladdin, but it does nothing with it. Wouldn't it have been cool to have had a prologue showing us this backstory where we see Jafar learn about the lamp and the Cave of Wonders, and then it leads into the opening scene with Jafar and Gazim, similar to the original? Nah, let's just rush through all that during the Arabian Nights opening number. We don't need to explore that. This film doesn't need to have depth. Also, the climactic battle between Jafar and Aladdin is so boring. Remember in the original when Aladdin fights Jafar across the room and then Jafar's just like casting spells at him and then he traps Aladdin in a ring of swords and then Aladdin grabs one of the swords and then Jafar turns into a giant snake and then Aladdin fights Jafar as the giant snake? It's really cool. What does this film do? Oh yeah, just have Jasmine and Aladdin fly around on the magic carpet from a giant Iago. Like, why would you do that? You had the potential to do a really cool thing, a sequence that was very similar to the ending of Chamber of Secrets where, you know, Harry Potter fights the Basilisk. You could have built a giant animatronic style cobra, it would have been cool. Nah, just have them fly away from a giant parrot, that'll be fine. What the hell, man? Also, they cut Jafar's version of Prince Ali, and to be fair, seeing as how bland and boring this version of Jafar is, I'm kind of glad they did, but again, it's one of my favourite parts in the animated film, and they got rid of it. Like, that reprise is so fun. Ex-Prince Ali. It's so good, man. Come on. A lot of the acting from the minor characters are just straight up pantomime worthy.
And this one, she steals bread.
She steals the bread.
You keep your little street rat nose out of it, huh?
Keep your street rat nose out of it. Do you remember when this character from the original had some semblance of menace to him? Like, what? Can't we have bad Arabian characters in this film? But if that's the case, then Jafar exists. Jafar is the bad guy. Why can't we have, you know, an Arabian character that shows some kind of menace? Also, the cinematography for this film is so boring. Everything looks like it was shot on a neutral looking lens with flat lighting and a color grade that removes any depth and contrast to the image. The colours aren't allowed to pop, and that does a disservice to the set design and the costume design, because that stuff all looks great. The way this film depicts Arabian Nights, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of boring. It's just a oner that kind of goes through the streets of Agrabah, goes, oh hey look, there's Abu, oh hey look, there's the back of Aladdin, oh hey look, there's the palace, oh hey look, there's Jasmine and Raju and Dahlia. It's like, there's not really any substance to it. Like, in the original, there was an atmosphere, you know, oh we're in the Middle East now, it's really hot and the heat is immense and it's intense. I don't really feel that in this version. It's like, oh yeah, we go over the water, but I don't know why it's water, because in the original, like, you know, there's like the fire, and then like the Aladdin text comes up, and like, you know, there's the music too, the There's not really an atmosphere to this one. It's like you have Will Smith singing, and half the time he's kind of auto-tuned. Plus there's the weird line delivery of Caravan Camels Roam.
Where the caravan camels roam.
Roam. Why does he say it like that? Also, yeah, they kind of just like brushed over the whole Cave of Wonder sequence in this musical number, and it's like, why? Why'd you do that? One jump ahead is just, it's bad. Like, it plays like a pantomime.
Rip rap, street rap, scoundrel, take that!
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Like, why are they riff, rap, street? Why are they running like that? Like, they're like, it's like they're swimming. It's so goofy. The whole energy of the scene is just so sluggish and slow, especially when you compare it to the original, because again, this film wants you to think of the original because it's playing on your nostalgia, going, hey, remember the original, and it doesn't work. It's really infuriating.
Gotta eat to live, gotta steal to eat, tell you all about it when I got the time. Gotta eat to live, gotta steal to eat, tell you all about it when I got the time.
why are there moments where Jasmine and Aladdin are running in slow motion, but they're singing in normal speed? Like, it just looks weird. Also, speaking of the original, this film completely misses the point of one jump ahead in the original animated film, because in the original animated film, that's our introduction scene to Aladdin, right? We see him go through all this effort just to steal this loaf of bread and keep it and make sure he escapes from the guards. He goes through all this effort, does all this incredible, dangerous, deadly feats, and then he gets away, and then he sees a bunch of starving kids, and because Aladdin is a kind-hearted, good-natured person, he gives the starving kids his bread. In this film, they shift one jump ahead to after, but they still have Aladdin give the kids his food in a sense. We see Aladdin do some light thievery, he steals a trinket, sells it, gets a bag of dates, and then he just walks over to these kids and he's like, oh damn, they're hungry, I'm gonna give them this bag of dates. The contrasting amount of effort between the characters in both versions of the film is just astronomical. You think this is just a massive nitpick, but no, it's actually really important because we've seen Aladdin, the animated film, go through all this effort to get this loaf of bread. But in the film, Aladdin stealing a trinket looks really effortless and easy, and so he could just do it again and get another bag of dates somewhere else. I mean, sure, yeah, he gets gypped, the bag of dates is supposed to be worth 3, but still, it doesn't look like it took that much effort for him to do.
Riff raff. Street rat.
Riff raff. Street rat. Yeah, they didn't give Mena Massoud enough time to prepare vocally for this because, like, he does the bare minimum. And to be fair, he is also helped by auto-tune a lot. Also, they didn't even set this moment up properly in the film. Like, do you remember in the animated film when Aladdin saves the kid from the prince's horse, and then Aladdin trades some words with the prince, and then the prince dismisses him, and then Aladdin goes, huh, look-a-boo, it's not every day you see a horse with 2 rear ends, and then, you know, he insults the prince, and then the prince insults him back by calling him worthless, saying that only his fleas were They don't set this up in this film. In this film, Aladdin saves the kids, and then it's not even the prince, it's the prince's guard. It's just like, get out of the way, street rat. And then all of a sudden he just calls Aladdin worthless for no reason, and it's like, but why? They didn't even properly foreshadow the line. I'm not worthless. I don't have fleas. The A Friend Like Me sequence is pretty good, actually. I have no issues with it. It's fairly solid. Will Smith does like his Will Smith stuff. It's fun. A little bit of bagalava. Now we get to Prince Ali and just... Oh god. How boringly shot is this scene? There's barely any sense of scale, the rapid and bubbly pace of the original is gone, and for a song called Prince Ali, they don't really showcase Prince Ali, it's mostly just a medium shot of Will Smith singing half the time. Remember how in the original when Genie would sing things about Prince Ali, he would show them on screen, so when he goes, you know, strong as 10 regular men, definitely, he makes Aladdin super strong and lifts 10 men. Or that physique, how can I speak away than nay? He literally magics Aladdin to look super muscular. But they don't do that in this film. It's literally just Will Smith singing half the time. That being said, as much as I think the scene is quite bland, there is a change I do quite like.
Heard your princess was hot. Where is she?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I like the delivery. It's pretty good. Then we get A Whole New World, and honestly, that whole sequence is just Naomi Scott outclassing Mena Massoud, and yeah, I mean, she's amazing. Just, ugh.
Or say we're only dreaming.
A whole new world.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh. It's kind of mean. But Naomi Scott absolutely outclasses Mena Massoud in just a matter of seconds. Like, it's unfair how incredibly talented she is. They did Mena Massoud dirty, man. If I was Guy Ritchie, I'd have been like, hey Naomi, I know you're absolutely phenomenal, and I want you to be phenomenal, but tone it back just like a little bit, just so you don't outshine Mena like that. Like, oh my god. I mean, props to her. She's just incredible, but poor Mena Massoud, man. I can open your eyes, take you wander by wander, over, sideways, and under, on a magic carpet ride, a whole new world. But also from a filmmaking perspective, it's incredibly boring and slow. It's mostly just like a medium wide shot of Aladdin and Jasmine flying slowly on the carpet. Do you remember in the original when the momentum was really fast paced and exciting? They launch off at the beginning because Aladdin's trying to thrill her, and then it slowly builds, and they do the thing where, like, you know, they like spin around the clouds and they go to all these different places. It's cool. In this film, it's just Aladdin and Jasmine just sitting on the carpet, singing slowly to each other. And there's not really a sense of escalation, like, oh, they go down the waterfall, but because it's shot so boringly, there's not really any excitement to it.
What?
Do you trust me?
Yes.
Also, did they even properly establish the "do you trust me" moment? Because do you remember in the animated film when obviously Aladdin says "do you trust me" and it's that specific shot, and then later on in the film they animate it to look exactly like that shot, but Aladdin is now Prince Ali. In this film, I don't think they do that. I think Aladdin tells Jasmine to trust him at one point, and they do a really obvious dolly in, but that's not the whole point. The whole point is that they match the shot from earlier, and they don't do that. And it's weird because this film literally does like the hand shot.
What did you say?
Do you trust me?
But they didn't do that earlier on in the film, so what's the point? And look, earlier I said I like the song Speechless, and I do, but its placement in the film is so bizarre, so weird, like, what is going on? Jasmine just suddenly makes these soldiers disappear and then just starts like singing around and like suddenly time is slowed down and then there's like this weird dolly zoom, just, what is this scene? Like, oh yeah, Jasmine is tough and strong and she's not gonna be silent, she's gonna rise up. But why do we need this? Like, the film's already established that Jasmine is a strong character. We don't need a weird musical number that doesn't really add anything. Also, Hakeem! Why is there a Bollywood-style dance sequence at the end? Aladdin, traditionally, at least in the sense of the Disney animated film, is an Arabian story. Obviously, yeah, there's like the Chinese interpretation, but even still, from the Tales of 1001 Arabian Nights, Aladdin is an Arabian story. So why are we using Indian cinema references in our Arabian story? What? In the end, to wrap things up, I do not like this film. Well, I mean, I kind of love to hate watch this film. I don't know, it's just kind of become like a family event for us. We just really enjoy watching it and trashing on it because it's just fun to laugh at. And look, if you like this film, more power to you. I don't see how you can, but if you do, that's great. It's just that I care too much about the original Aladdin film. That is one of my favourite films ever made. And this adaptation just hurts my heart because it's not very good. Because look, if these Disney live action remakes were made with the sense of artistic integrity, they were trying to really adapt these stories and make it, you know, a really fun, thrilling thing for a new generation. They put in the best visual effects, they get the best directors, they make it look the most prettiest things ever made. I would have no problem with them being made, but they're not. They are just soulish cash cows. That's literally all these films are. It's Disney cashing in on your nostalgia, manipulating you into watching these movies, and making billions of dollars. It's honestly just so soulless, and what scares me the most is that they're going to do Hercules in the future, and Guy Ritchie is also directing that. And that has me terrified because Mulan, Hercules, and Aladdin are my three favourite Disney films, and they've already butchered Aladdin and Mulan. And to be fair, Mulan was even worse than Aladdin. Like, at least with Aladdin, I get some semblance of joy. That Mulan film they released on Disney Plus was awful. Also, when it comes to Hercules, they've got the Russo brothers producing, and to be fair, the Russo brothers, whilst they have made good Marvel movies, have not made anything good outside of the MCU. And what has me even more worried is that they said some unnerving comments in the sense of that their inspiration for the new Hercules film is going to be TikTok, because apparently TikTok is the modern musical, and I was... what? And look, if these films weren't soulish cash cows, do you know who would have been the best person to direct the live-action Hercules? Baz Luhrmann. I mean, come on, you watch his Elvis musical biopic and tell me he is not the perfect person to direct it. Like, he would absolutely kill it. Hashtag Austin Butler for Hercules. I mean, joking, but not joking. Joking. Anyways, to wrap things up, I do not like this movie. I said in my Dear Evan Hansen review that one day I would like to remake Dear Evan Hansen if I ever made it into Hollywood. And you know what? I'm gonna add Aladdin to that bucket list too, just because I care so much about that original animated film, and this live action film does not hold a candle to the original. It's not good, and it's not a good live action adaptation. It can be done in a much better way, and I think I'd be the guy to do it. But those are just my thoughts on the live action Aladdin. I don't like it. But if you guys like it, let me know in the comments down below. If you don't like it, and you're like me and you're sane, let me also know in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, follow on social media, all that good stuff. And until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time.